introduce our panel. Our speakers are representative of the Education and Community Division of KKL-JNF, Ilan Frydman, Brosh Group co-owner Ayelet Gonen Brosh, Elal Head of Communications and Government Relations Michal Gersler, AJC Miami and Broward Regional Director Brian Segal, Lawfare Project founder and End Jew Hatred Movement founder Brooke Goldstein, and once again, this will be moderated by Diaspora correspondent Michael Starr.
We have an extra special panel right now. We have a lot to cover, from anti-Semitism to Aliyah to the diaspora's role in protecting the safe haven for Jews. It's almost like we're trying to get you guys to do something. I want to start with anti-Semitism. Brian, maybe you can start us off with kind of laying out the field, the current field as it stands on anti-Semitism.
Sure. Well, thank you. Honored to be here. AJC, American Jewish Committee, my organization, was founded in 1906 in the wake of the pogroms in Kishinev. So from the early beginnings of this organization, which was the first of what was called the self-defense organizations of the Jewish community in America, there was an understanding that if Jews are not safe anywhere, then no Jew is safe, and we're all responsible for each other. When we think about anti-Semitism, when we think about before October 7th, things were already pretty horrible, and there was a surge in anti-Semitism. If you looked at the hate crime statistics of the FBI and saw that American Jews constitute 2% of the population, and yet we make up 64% of all religiously based hate crimes, that should tell you something. And in fact, AJC since 2019 has been taking surveys of American Jews and of the general population in America in order to understand the trends that are affecting anti-Semitism. One of the statistics that stands out is that before October 7th, 1 in 4 American Jews reported that they were the personal targets of anti-Semitism. As we're conducting these surveys now, we expect that to go up. Of course, after October 7th, we saw a tsunami of anti-Semitism. And more than that, and more frightening, is what we're fighting now, which is the normalization of anti-Semitism or Jew hatred. When we think about how that's impacting people, of course, we know what happened on university campuses. AJC in September convened presidents from over 80 different universities at Johns Hopkins University to basically look and diagnose at what happened on those campuses and what policies need to be instituted. But more than that, is the will there? Have we done what we need to do to put the pressure on universities? And of course, our brothers and sisters all over the world, AJC annually convenes the presidents of all the Jewish communities of Latin America. And to hear what some of these communities are going through in Latin America in terms of the pressure they're receiving from their government, the attacks that are happening, needless to say what's happening in Europe. We have offices throughout Europe. I mean, the fact that we're sitting here, less than 2 months since what literally was called in Amsterdam a Jew hunt, and of course we know that that could have been in Berlin, Paris, London. It could have been in many different places, because we know that anti-Semitism comes from the far right. We know it comes from the far left. We know it comes from jihadists. We know it comes from other extremists. And of course, the battle online. I was so happy to hear from those influencers who are here tonight about the work that they're doing, because we know so much of this battle is being fought online. And I think our jobs, and I think a lot of these people in this room are fighting this battle of helping our society understand that anti-Semitism is not just an existential threat to the Jewish community, but to our entire society.
Brooke, Brian used the term Jew hatred right now. For you, it's important that we change the way we speak about anti-Semitism in order to combat it. Can you tell us a little bit about your linguistic approach or your rhetoric? Why should we be calling it Jew hatred instead of anti-Semitism?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say hello to everybody here. I'm so grateful to be a part of the Jerusalem Post conference. It's really always been my dream to be a part of this conference, and I want to specifically thank Rabbi and Rebbetzin Lipsker, who have welcomed me to this community, who are pillars of this society. It's an honor to be here. And of course, Yara and Gabe Plotkin, who have been so instrumental in the financial backing of both the Lawfare Project and the End Jew Hatred movement. And so to your question, language is so important. Language is everything. And before we launched the End Jew Hatred movement, it was launched based on a study that we conducted of what makes for a successful civil rights or minority rights movement in the 21st century. And the first thing we learned was that the name is everything. And we've been using this term anti-Semitism, and most of us don't even know what the origin of the term is. Anti-Semitism is a term that was invented by German eugenicists. It's not a negative term. It was a pseudo-intellectual way of them proudly describing that all of the Semitic races, by the way, not just the Jews, but all of the Semitic races are inferior to the white Caucasian races. And we've adopted this terminology. We've repeated it over and over again. And, you know, the same way we've adopted something like two-state solution, right? Creating another Islamist state in a sea of failed Islamist dictatorships is not a solution to anything. We use the term settler, you know, settlers. There's no such thing as a settler or settlements. There's Jewish homes. There's Jewish people. They live in Judea. Jews are from Judea, right? If Jews aren't from Judea, I don't know where we're from. And so we continue occupation. You can't occupy something that you legally own that is your birthright. So we have to stop using these terms. And one of our, another great benefactor, Ronald Lauder, who was a staunch and one of the first supporters of the End Jew Hatred movement, said to me, you know, when I go to a cocktail party and I say to someone, that's anti-Semitic, they don't even flinch. But when I say, you're a Jew hater, they say, well, I don't hate Jews. That's not me. Because if you are against hatred against blacks, or hatred against gays, or hatred against Muslims, and you're not against hatred against Jews, then you are the bigot. And frankly, that's what we have to aspire to. And I'll conclude like this, okay? A lot of people ask me, well, how is it possible to end Jew hatred in our lifetime? You know, hatred is an emotion, right? Everybody's born with hatred. But nobody is born with Jew hatred. No child is born hating Jews. This is a product of a systemic indoctrination program that teaches children, and it's come now, this globalized, the jihad and the intifada has now come to our college campuses where they're radicalizing students. This is intentional. And if we combine grassroots mobilization with civil rights impact litigation, we will be able to end Jew hatred in our lifetime because we will be imposing consequences for the behavior that we don't want to see. And that is the key, because far too long, engaging in Jew hatred or unlawful discrimination against Jews on campuses or even assaults, and I want to point out Michael Kaminsky is in the audience. Please stand up. This is the student who was viciously attacked at DePaul University and left with a broken wrist. He stood up for himself, and he has retained the Lawfare Project, and we are going to be suing DePaul University the same way we sued Columbia, the same way we sued Cooper Union, the same way we're suing Carnegie Mellon University, because imposing consequences, not fighting anti-Semitism or teaching people to love Israel, imposing consequences for Jew hatred is how we're going to make a difference.
So you've touched a lot on the topic of education. You touch a lot on the topic of education when it comes to combating anti-Semitism. Ilan, KKL-JNF has a lot of programs relating to education. How does educating against anti-Semitism come into your initiatives?
So I'll start with trying to define, when we're educating about anti-Semitism, what is the anti-Semitism that we're dealing with. We're approaching the Chag of Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a celebration of winning anti-Semitism, beating anti-Semitism. It's very different from Purim. On Purim, what we see is they tried to kill us, they didn't succeed, let's eat. That's what we all do. On Hanukkah, it's not the thing. On Hanukkah, they didn't try to kill us. They tried to assimilate us. They tried to change our opinions about things. They tried to make us think differently about how we act, and act differently. In a way, if we could choose the anti-Semitic leader, who would be the best or the worst leader, we do that at the first step of Leil HaSeder. On Leil HaSeder we say, the worst enemy wasn't Paro because he only tried to kill us. Much worse was Lavan because he tried to affect how we think. He tried to keep us away from our homeland. He tried to change our opinions. When we educate about anti-Semitism, when we educate Jews to be ready to act against anti-Semitism, we're basically building Jewish identity. The deeper we manage to build their Jewish identity, the stronger they'll be to fight anti-Semitism. And that's what understanding that anti-Semitism, the problem is lack of identity, that we have to fulfill with building deep, strong roots that will care about the nation, that will care about Israel, know where we're coming from, and therefore know how to answer the questions.
Michal, El Al had some interesting initiatives against anti-Semitism when it responded to the Amsterdam pogroms that were mentioned by Brian. Can you tell us a little bit about that response?
Yeah, sure. So it was 5 a.m. in the morning that Friday that we got the phone call from the Prime Minister's office telling us, listen, there was a pogrom in Amsterdam. There are Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. They're all being attacked by strangers, and you need to do something. You need to bring them back home. It was, as I said, Friday. We all know that El Al does not operate during Shabbat, but the Rosenberg family decided it's a must. It's a task we have to do. So we got the approval from the chief rabbis of Israel. It was a pikuach nefesh, as we call it. And we sent 6 airplanes during the Shabbat. It was all no charge. Everybody went on our planes for free. It was funded by El Al, millions of shekels. Yeah, thank you. We also took with us a team of paramedics, Magen David Adom paramedics. We wanted to make sure that everybody's coming back to Israel will be, will get the right treatment. And there were some very emotional moments on our planes. The crew and the fans, they sang, all the songs, Am Yisrael Chai and Atikva. It was very emotional. And I think it basically represents, it shows that El Al is a company that has a very strong connection to Israel, and that's why I guess we have the Israeli flag on the tails of our planes.
But that wasn't the only operation that El Al has conducted since this war began. You bring donations, soldiers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as I said, El Al has a very, very strong connection to the state of Israel, to the people of Israel, to the Jewish world. It all started on October 7th, at the outbreak of the war. We immediately understood that we are the only lifeline for Israel at that point. All the foreign airlines just stopped flying on the same day, and we got phone calls and requests from Israelis all around the world. It was the holidays of Tishrei. Israelis were traveling and on their vacations around the world, and they were calling us, please save us, bring us back home. We had a lot of soldiers and reservists. They were called by Tzav Shmone. We had relatives of people in Israel that were missing, that were injured. Please take us home. Our planes were at full capacity. They were all packed with people, but we understood that this is the time to act. So what we did, we approved and we allowed people to sit on the floor of the plane, on the aisles. It was really, really crazy situation, but we understood that's what we have to do, and everybody got home safely and quickly as possible. We also brought, we're flying thousands and millions of Israelis since October 7th. We're bringing with us lone soldiers. We reunite them with their family. We're working very closely with the Hostages Family Forum. We're making sure that we'll be able to get to all of their diplomatic missions at the UN. They're calling us. They're not even one seat. I'm telling them, don't worry. For you to get to the UN, you'll get a seat. It's very important for us to get their voice heard around the world. We brought cargo with us, all the donations of military equipment, of medical equipment. We feel like it's our task. We feel like El Al is not just a regular airline, it's not just a regular company. We're here for the people of Israel, for the Jewish world, and it's our obligation, but also our privilege to do so.
Can I say some breaking news on that story? Because it's Jpost. Just on tomorrow, the victims, the perpetrators are being brought to trial. Tomorrow, the perpetrators of the Amsterdam pogrom are being brought to trial in Amsterdam. And our lawyers are showing up with the Israeli victims that you flew on your plane, are now flying back on El Al tomorrow to show up at the courthouse. So I want to thank you for that.
Sure.
Michal brought the topic of bringing lone soldiers over to Israel. What are the type of properties that parents of lone soldiers, where are they looking at?
First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here so late. And it's a privilege for me to be here. My name is Ayelet. I'm a co-owner in Brosh Group. It's a family business. I'm here with my husband, Nir. I'm very excited. For the last 2 years, I've been traveling to the United States to try to explore our company to Israelis and Jewish people, mainly through the IAC and now through Jerusalem Post. And it's my first time that I really meet the Miami community, and it's very exciting for me. Actually, I feel here more at home than at home. Walking in the streets, everybody speaks Hebrew, which really is nice. And when people ask you where you're from, I'm from Israel, and I'm very proud to say it, and it's very safe to say it. So for the last 2 years, and especially the last year, I meet a lot of parents of children who are coming to Israel, either to serve in the IDF or parents of children who came and served in the IDF and then decided to stay and study in Israel because they became friendly with friends and family, and they found Israel as their new home. So parents really are looking for suitable apartments, mainly in the center of the cities, and our company is experting in building really in prime locations in the center of Israel, in Tel Aviv, Ramat HaSharon, in Herzliya. And the thing that I find that the parents are a bit confused because they're trying to fit in many things in one purchase. They want to find an apartment for a young person who wants to live in the center of everything near public transportation. At the same time, they want their apartment to be available for them when they come to visit or for their future return, I hope. So I always recommend my clients that they should really be very specific about, first of all, the budget. Apartments in Israel are very, very high for American Israelis and Jews. I know that people come to us and just don't believe how expensive apartments are. But you have to understand that the apartments, unfortunately, the prices will continue to rise because the demand is higher than the supply. And this is like basic lesson in economics. Everybody knows it. So I really recommend people who consider to buy an apartment in Israel to do it now. First of all, it helps to invest in Israel, help the economic, as my partner from the Leumi Bank, which is our bank as well, talked. The building, construction, and developing is a very important engine in the economics in Israel.
All right, you hear it here. Act now before it's too late. Thank you guys very much. It was an excellent panel.
Thank you.